What's up guys? Today we're going to have a tutorial on how to check whether or not a string is a substring of another string without using the strstr function. We're going to tackle two solutions, one involving nested loops and the other only needs one loop. So let's get started. First let's include the header files that we need. We need the standard input and output, as well as the string.h because we need to know the lengths of strings. Now let's work on out main function. We're going to declare two strings and put size 50. Then we are going to ask the user to input the first string. Remember to use this format specifier instead of %s to include the white spaces. Let's do the same for the second string. After that, let's pass the two strings to our subsequence function. Before we begin with the solution, let us first understand the game plan. We are first going to tackle this problem using nested loops. First, we are going to start at index 0. We check if index 0 of string 1 is similar to index 0 of string 2. In this case they are similar. Now we check the next indexes. In this case, index 1 of string 1 is not similar to index 1 of string 2. We then break our checking and move our counter to the next index, which is index 1. We do this process over and over again until we find a match. In this case, we reach index 4 of string 1 and it is similar to the index 0 of string 2. We then check if the next indexes are similar. In this case they are similar. We check the next indexes until we reach the last index of string 2. In this case, they are similar, therefore, we print that string 2 is a subsequence of string 1 and then stop the function because we don't need to check anymore. Now let's try another example. Let's check again and again until we find a match. In this case there are no matches and then we reach index 5. Remember that string 2 has only 4 letters and the remaining letters of string 1 is only 3. Therefore, we stop immediately and then tell the user that the string 2 is not a subsequence of the string 1. Let's now start developing our subsequence function. We are going to return nothing and accept two strings. We are going to create two integer variables for the length of the two strings. We are then going to create a counter to check how many letters we have correctly matched so far. Next, we are going to create a loop of how many times we will check. Remember that we started at index 0. Furthermore, remember that we will end if the remaining letters of string 1 is shorter than string 2. So we will stop before length 1 minus length 2. Then, we are going to create a loop to check the individual letters. We are going to start at index 0 of string 2 and then we are only going to check as many times as there are a letter of string 2. Now here comes the checking. We are going to check whether the letters of the string 1 is similar to the letters of string 2. Remember that we put I plus j because we start at a different index every time it is different. If the letters are similar, we are going to increase our counter. If not we will break because we don't need to check anymore as we know that it is not a subsequence. After checking every letter, we are going to check how many letters we have correct. If the counter is equal to the length 2 this means that we have all the letters correct. We should then tell the user that this is a subsequence and then return because we don't have to continue checking. If it is not a subsequence, we will return the counter back to 0 so we can start checking again. If after checking everything, we don't have a match, it means that string 2 is not a subsequence of string 1. Let's try running our code. Let's put string 1 as code and string 2 as OD. Hooray, it is a subsequence. Let's then try string 1 as code and string 2 as EE. Perfect. Now let's try checking all test cases. Congratulations. Now this is the solution that will involve nested loops. Now we're going to tackle this problem without using nested loops. First let's try understanding the game plan. Imagine that we have two counters. One checks the string 1 and the other checks the string 2. First let's check index 0 of string 1 and then the index 0 of string 2. They are similar, so now we will check the next indices of string 1 and string 2. They are not similar, so we will check the next index of string 1. However, instead of checking the next index of string 2, it returns back to the first letter. The counter at string 2 will only move if there is a match on string 1. If there's no match, it goes back to 0. Now here, the index 5 of string 1 is similar to the index 0 of string 2. This time we check the next index of string 1 as well as the next index of string 2. We do this until we reach the last letter of string 2. We then realize that there is a match, so we will tell the user that this is a subsequence. Now that we understand the idea, let's start developing our new function. The same as last time, let's put 2 integers for the lengths of the strings. Then we will create the counter for string 2, which will start at 0. We will then create a loop that starts at index 0 and ends at the last index. If there is a match between the string 1 and string 2, we want the counter to increase by 1 so that it will start checking the next index of string 2. If the letters are different, we want the counter to go back to 0 or the first letter. Similar to the previous solution, if the counter reaches the length of the string 2, it means that we found all letters, and we should tell the user that it is a subsequence. If after checking all the letters, there is no match, we tell the user that it is not a subsequence. Let's try checking the test cases. As you guys can see, we failed because we did not use nested loops. However, we passed all the test cases, making this solution more efficient than using nested loops, without using strstr function. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe as well as comment topics you want me to discuss for future videos.